Hi, guys. I have a special guest, and we're in the kitchen because stupid daylight savings. But this is my mom. Say hi, mommy.
Hi.
Okay. Um.
Welcome or welcome back. You got to put the little video. Okay. Okay.
Like, what do you mean?
You know when you say welcome.
Yeah, but
or welcome back.
I say it. So you saying you want to say go to the intro card?
No. I want to say what I just said. I just want to say welcome or welcome back to the
Go to the intro card. Welcome or welcome back to the miniature mic monologue. Okay, guys. This is my mom, and she came to visit me for Thanksgiving / early winter break. And I asked her if she wanted to be on the podcast because yesterday we were talking about something that I thought was very interesting. And we were talking about growing up sheltered. And my mom has expressed to me how different our childhoods have been. And I thought they were more similar than not until I got older, obviously, and she could tell me more things. And I was like, oh, no, you didn't do that to me. I don't know what to think about that. But, anyway, so I figured we could talk about it because my mom said that she thinks I wasn't sheltered, but my mom was very selective. But she would say that she was sheltered, and we both grew up in the church. She's a pastor's kid. Technically, I'm a pastor's kid, too, because of my father. But also, she's a pastor. She's just not preaching right now.
Edit that out.
No. Anyways, so I figured we could talk about it and maybe just ask a couple questions and then we could just talk about whatever. But tell me why you think that. Like, tell me what you were saying yesterday about why you think that you were sheltered versus why you think I was not and you were just more selective. Because once she said it, I did agree with what she said.
You guys, I love the miniature mic.
I need to get another one.
Okay,
so
we'll have to order one.
Again,
Yes. Okay, that'll be fun. Anyway, so I am very thankful for my upbringing. I think when children who have lived a more sheltered or sequestered existence become parents, we almost flip the script to a complete 360 to try to give our kids everything, expose them to everything. But I didn't really have that mindset. My biggest concern was I wanted to make sure that Jiana was a little bit more prepared. I believe that I was extremely naive going from home to college, being around other kids that had experienced life a little bit differently from myself. And I wanted to ensure that she did not feel completely isolated, nor did she feel so just out of place that she was just like, Mom, what were you doing my whole life? Huh? Where was I? In a cave? Was I in a hole? And so I can just tell you, growing up, when your parents are pastors, your favorite hobby is church. You only know church kids. My father was also in the military, so we knew a lot of military families. And so a lot of our friend group was very similar to the kids that we grew up with. And there were just certain things. We didn't date when we were younger. Although our parents said that we could date at 16, we didn't. They said we could, but we didn't. Okay. We didn't get to wear halter tops or, Daisy Dukes or, anything like that. All of our clothing was very modest. I mean, it was cute, form fitting, fashion, but it was my mom was very particular about how we presented ourselves. She would always say, you don't just represent you represent me, which I also said that to Jiana. Yes, because I wanted her to have her own style, but I also wanted to remind her how important it is that she takes care of her body and that she doesn't go around showing it all the time because that's not required because she was already beautiful.
Okay, can I say something right there? I think that the clothes is an interesting one because my mom, she didn't let me wear tube tops or anything when I was growing up. And they were getting popular when I was 14, 15, 16 again, because obviously they were popular in the 90s and stuff like that. But my mom never, I would try it on or I would do stuff like that and I would try to wear it and she never was like, you're going to hell, you can't wear that. She was just always like, why do you want to wear that? And I was like, I because everyone else is wearing it. And then she's like, oh, so you're everyone else now? And I was like, get the F out of my face. I don't. So my mom always like, she always made me think. She was like, it's like, she's like, you can do whatever. I mean, she wasn't going to let me wear the tube top, but she was like, I want you to think about what you're really telling yourself it's okay to do. Like, clothes is just an option. And so, but that's interesting because what grandma did for you guys is like, it's just not happening. You were like, okay, you can consider it, but like, you better tell me why. And then I was like, I don't like this, because then I had to be honest with myself. Like, I really don't want that. And like, I know I might just want to hang out or look like everybody else and kind of fit in, but I'm like, it doesn't say that. It doesn't just say that, especially when I'm younger. So I think my mom, she parented me obviously a lot and very well, but she didn't have to. Once I got older, she would just ask me questions. And I was like, okay, fine.
The other thing is, I do believe that I was extremely selective with Jiana. She grew up, she went to high school in a very suburban area.
I would say I grew up in the suburbs my whole life.
Probably, but high school more specifically because we relocated to a different state, a state where the kids at her high school drove BMWs, they drove Mercedes.
They know I went to high school in Arizona.
Okay, y'all know she went to high school in Arizona. Sorry. They drove, Range Rovers, and I'm talking about the kids. These are not their parents' cars. These are their vehicles.
Like they got the vehicle, they crashed it. Mom bought them a new one. It was in the driveway.
Right. Most of the kids, some had nannies. Listen, I'm not mad. If you can afford a nanny, listen, 2 claps for you. So there was quite a bit more pressure for me as a parent to ensure that Jiana could still make her own decisions, but I also gave her the liberty to make those decisions. Obviously, at that time, Hydro Flask blew up. So, of course, I was not ecstatic when the Hydro Flask was $50. I'm like, this is a freaking water bottle. I digress. Lululemon blew up too. I'm like, $65 for shorts. Anyway, it's fine. I bought them. It's fine. So I'm not even mad at myself because I did do those things. But I did make sure that Jiana had the ability to think about, what is it that you want to be known for? Is this who you are? Then that's news to me because I thought you were this person. So when you go to college, you don't really have a lot of say on what your kids wear because they're not at your house every day. Thankfully for me, thank you, Lord, my baby was an athlete. So she spent most of her life in sweatpants or leggings or spandex because she was always at practice, in the gym, or on the road. However, when she finished this past summer session with her MBA, do that, daughter. She probably had a little bit more time to think about what she wanted to wear. And my objective with Jiana, even now as she is transitioning into adulthood a little bit day by day, is to constantly ask her, what are you thinking when you're making that decision? Not, you're going to listen to me because I'm your mama. Even though sometimes if you're a real parent, sometimes there is no discussion. It's just, here's the answer. Let's not run that through. You don't need to hit that brick wall. Just trust me on this and you don't have to do anything. But most of the time, my objective is to make sure that she understands these are questions you need to ask yourself because you have to live with you. I don't have to see you make choices. I do have to see the consequence of those choices. So choose the test and choose the consequence wisely. So that is something, as she has grown up, that I've had to really transition for me as a parent. And while she was
I really don't think you ever did not do that.
Oh, okay.
Which is something else that I wanted to talk about because I don't think, like, my mom obviously had to parent me, but I was always the kid that told on myself. So she just, why are you laughing? We've had this conversation before.
Because you're saying it like,
okay, but am I not telling the truth? Anytime I ever got in trouble, I went and told my mom. Even if I did it.
You wouldn't have done that out of, your natural response would have been to hide it. But because of the way that I chose to communicate with you about consequences, about choices of decisions.
I think that's true.
Oh, baby, I know that's true.
Okay.
Okay,
Baby has the mic right now.
Okay.
Baby just saying that I think for as long as I can remember, I think any kid is going to hide something when they're like 2, 3, 4, but like for as long as I can remember. For as long as I can remember, I've always told on myself. Like even if I was at school or in class, so my mom didn't have to like scare the crap out of me. You know what I'm saying? I was already like, this is wrong. Like I was just like, this is wrong and somebody's gonna find out. And I was just like, so I'm just gonna say something or I'm just gonna do something. So I was just saying, I don't think you had to make that shift as much as I think the shift you've made now that I'm big is you tried to help me be more judgment free on my emotions, because I've had I feel like I had to towards myself, because I had to mature, I feel like a little bit faster, because some of my experiences playing sports forced me to have to be an adult in situations with adults that should have done the right thing by me and they didn't. And I didn't get any reprieve from that when I went to college, which was an ultimate fail letdown. But my mom was always kind of like, in my brain, she was like, big, scary, bad woman. Don't upset mommy. Don't be bad. But like, as I got older, she got softer with how she would process things with me, because she was like, you can't live like that, basically. Like you might have had to have go through some things and kind of present a hard shell to survive, but you can't do that with yourself.
That's true.
So I would say that that's the biggest change parenting wise that you made. Like, not that she was mean or hard, because I didn't think she was mean or hard. I think that she acted the way that she did, and she was very nonsensical and always would confront anyone that did anything wrong to her. Now that I'm older, I can kind of see that she would do that probably when she wouldn't have when I was around, so she knew that I didn't have to take that ever. So like I realized that, but like when I was younger, I was like, why is she like this all the time? But then people would do it to me. I was like, this is why. I was like, this is why, because I'm going to gracefully turn you the other cheek so you can fix what you did, because that's not right. Like, that's not right. And so I think I learned I had to step into that. And as I've had to step into it, she's like, oh, you're doing good. You're doing right. But like, you can still be mad. Like, you can still do the right thing, still do the honorable thing, still do what God has asked of you, and still be pissed off. And I've had a hard time with that, because I'm like, I just didn't, I mean, she's an adult. She's been alive longer than me. I didn't know it was going to be like this. So I'm like, I don't like that. I conflicted. And she's like, it's okay, basically. Okay. I was going to ask a question.
About what?
Because you have a sister and I don't.
Oh, yes.
Because I'm an only child, okay, and my mom has a sister, and so so a lot of people have said, once I told them I was an only child, they were like, oh, like most people, only childs have a stereotype for being very selfish and like unaware. Mm-hmm. I've never been like that. My mom always taught me to share. So some people were like, what do you mean? And I was like, I just don't have any siblings. Like, I wasn't a jerk, but I just don't have any siblings. And so I wonder because you grew up with a sibling, mm-hmm. you watching me grow up without one, like, what was that like?
I think you don't learn this until you're an adult and you have children, that you can have the same two people parent you, but have very different experiences. My sister and I were only 10 and a half months apart in age. Like currently we're the same age right now for a month and a half. And then I turned older, but I have learned that our experiences with our parents are vastly different. And they are vastly different even now that we have children who are older. Jiana is, in her 20s, and my niece just turned 18. She's also away at college. Our experience certainly shape how we parent our children. And it also shapes our experience because it determines what parent we go to ask for advice when we are trying to step away from something that was traditional to us in a sequestered, more sheltered lifestyle to one that's more of selection. So, for example, when I was growing up, my parents were very strict, reallife.com. And there was one particular night, I don't know if Gianna's ever told you this story, but I had to take my sister to her math tutor. I had to come home, clean the kitchen, and then go pick her up. My parents were at Bible study. At that time, our garage door opener was off track and my dad was going to fix it the next day. So you had to physically open the garage door. So one of my friends in high school who lived like 4 streets over on the Sun Streets from where we lived on Thunder Road, was having like this little get together. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go over there. I'm going to drop my sister off and I'm going to go over there for 30 minutes, go home, do the dishes, and then go pick up my sister and be back before my parents get home from Bible study. I'm just going to cut to the chase. That did not happen. Okay. I ended up going over there. My sister, unbeknownst to me, was getting a ride from her tutor who was already at home. I did not know my sister was at home. There were cell phones then, but my parents only had cell phones, not us. So I leave there. I drive to the tutor's house. It's completely dark. I'm panicking. So I leave there, drive back to my house. I open the garage and wouldn't you know, Miniature Mike, my parents were home. At that particular moment, I felt my soul leave my body because the way that my parents parented me, they believed in spankings, they believed in whoopings, whatever you want to call them. They also believed in punishment on top of a spanking or a whooping. So I knew that my life was going to cease to exist. And just a little bit more context, I had my driver's license, but I had only had it for maybe 2 or 3 months. Anyway, I opened the garage, I see my dad's truck in the garage, and I am literally contemplating, should I just ask the Lord to go to heaven, because I had no idea what was happening. My only saving grace would have been that I told them, which is exactly what I did, that I went to go pick up my sister and I didn't know where she was. So I went with that mindset in mind and I walked inside and my dad said, I thought you were supposed to clean up the kitchen. And I was just like, this is not going to end well. Anyway, I just said, oh, well, I had to go stop because I had to go pick up my sister from the tutor. About that time, my sister walked out of the room, walked through the den, and then came around the corner in the kitchen. And I really felt my soul leave my body for real.
Wait, you thought she wasn't home?
I didn't know she was home.
Oh, right.
And the reason why I didn't know she was home is because I didn't have a cell phone. The other reason I didn't know, because I found out later, is that she finished early. And so the tutor dropped her off instead of calling because my parents also didn't believe in letting us answer the phone if they were not home. Okay. So anyway, my sister comes around the corner. I really thought I died. I'm not going to lie. I really thought I died. And so my dad said, well, I guess you better get the kitchen clean. I knew that I was going to get my life beat out of me. I was very scared. I didn't know what was going to happen. I also felt like my mom was just kind of looking at me with a look that was like, I can't believe you did this crap. I digress. So I was nervous. I went into my room after I finished cleaning the kitchen. And by clean, I mean, I washed all the dishes. I put them away. I wiped off the sink. I swept and mopped because that's how we had to clean up. So I went into the room basically contemplating my fate because I knew I was about to get my tail beat and it was going to hurt and I was going to be crying a lot. Anyway, my dad didn't do it that night. So I was like, yes, I live another day. Thank God. The next day I got home from school and my dad said, come here, which immediately I started crying. He was like, stop crying. And I'm like, because I didn't know what was going to happen. Anyway, so my dad said, okay, well, can you put your driver's license up? Okay. That's the point of this story, because fast forward in my life, about 30 years later, when Jiana, my daughter, had just earned her driver's license.
No, it had been a little longer than that.
I don't mean just earned, like it was
it was the, like, it had been
she,
like 8
I mean, like she turned 16 and she got it.
Okay,
is what I mean.
So here's what story she's leading up to.
Wait, baby, I'm just, no, because she's going to make it seem like.
No, I'm not.
No,
I'm
baby,
not. Let me tell the
hold
story.
on. Wait, I'm telling this story because I'm saying this in relationship to siblings, okay? In relationship to siblings, I was hoping that, my sister would have been my only saving grace to get me out of that. And literally, she sold me out by being at home, okay? She sold me out, kids.
She sold you out by existing.
She sold me out because I was like, why are you home? And she was like, why did you say you were coming to get me? And I'm like, who are you? What team are you on? Obviously not my team. She was team her and I was team me all alone. So anyway, I think that there are certain experiences that you have with your siblings that help you try to figure out, how do we get mom and dad off this hill and so they don't kill us, right? And so you kind of work together to do those things. But all of that translates into how you parent. Your experiences, that what you have with your parents. If you're afraid, if you're nervous, if you don't feel like there's open communication or there's great vulnerability, sometimes you can choose to pass that on inadvertently, because you haven't really considered that that's how you have lived for so long. So in relationship to me with my sisters, sometimes we would talk about things I would choose for Jiana versus, because my niece is 5 years younger than her. So she would give me insight from a place where she couldn't really speak, even though she understood. So that experience that she had with my parents, I was like, I'm not doing that because I hated with mom and dad. And she'd be like, girl, blah, 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 blah. So there was such a discourse amongst us when Jiana was first born. And then when my niece came, baby, okay, all that went out the door, bro, because I was like, oh, I think you should, no, sister. Anyway, so it's fine. But in relationship to that story of me experiencing something with my parents, it was completely different from my sister's perspective. She had no idea where I was. She had her house key and she was able to get inside. She knew I wasn't there, but she didn't know what I was doing. I'm out here trying to joyride. Come on, Ryan Trahan, we love you. I'm out here trying to joyride, but in reality, I'm out here being stupid because I knew that was the wrong choice to make.
Okay. I didn't ask you that. That was a great story. Great storyteller. But I asked you.
Were saying how
but I asked you, what did you notice that was different about your experience having siblings and watching me not have siblings?
Only kids get everything.
Facts. I saw this Instagram post, and it was like, to all the kids who aren't the first granddaughter, the first daughter of a firstborn daughter, the first niece, how does it feel to be a peasant? I was like, oh my gosh, this describes my life. And my aunt also had only one girl, so like we were similar and like sibling in our experiences, but we were never like the same. You know what I'm saying? We both got all this crazy. We just got whatever. Like I don't know. But the thing is, I don't even know what I was gonna say. Like it would be funny to hear them talk about it when we were like closer in age. Like if I was, I don't know, when I was like 12, she was 7, so she could kind of understand things then. But they would always be like, we would be like, what do you mean we can't have Starbucks? And they're like, what do you mean? We didn't even get to ask for Starbucks. And we're like,
I mean, we did.
But like, yeah.
I mean, the answer was you got Starbucks at home, or do you have McDonald's money or whatever? Like you growing up as an only child versus having a sibling, it allowed me to see what life is like when there is no limit. And by no limit, what I mean is that open communication, truth, and dialogue that I had to cultivate with you in friend selection. Like, not me telling you don't be friends with this person, but saying, why are you friends with this person? What is it that this person is bringing to your life? Are you showing them how to be kind, how to speak the truth? All of these things. Being a sibling, but a parent of an only child, fostered an experience that I too, as the parent, lived, because of the way that I decided to rear you so you could have a life, to me, that would better suit you for the time that you were born in. Certain things that my parents did, although it seemed a little archaic, it made sense in their mind because that was the protective measures that their parents and their grandparents did for them. But for me, I thought, this is going to backfire. It doesn't apply to who she is and what her experience is with other people. So being an only child didn't change that. If you would have had a sibling, that your sibling would have been parented the same way, because the expectation would have been the same.
Well, I guess we would have been parented the same way,
you would have had a different experience, but the same expectation, to me, is what I feel like you, or I believe that you were saying in relationship to me and Nene. We had the same parents, but we had different experiences. Number one, because we're different people.
Well, yes, I mean, all of that is very true and very good, but it was very heavy. I was looking for more of a lighthearted answer, so I don't know what to do about that there, because I just feel like I always thought it was so interesting the way that they would get upset that we would be like, why can't we have $50? And they're like, because we just gave you 100, and we're like, okay, and then they would just look at each other like, what the F have we done? Like, you know what I'm saying?
And it didn't help because our parents, who are now grandparents,
oh my gosh,
literally like, what do you mean they can't have that?
Right.
And our experience as siblings to these parents was now being trashed every single time.
It was kind of funny to watch. I'm not gonna lie.
That these grandchildren are just like, but grandpa and grandmommy, and they're like, okay, yes.
Like, it's literally, to me, I didn't know, like, now that I'm older, I didn't know.
No, you don't. It's still the same for you.
No, but I didn't know, like, just generally speaking, that they weren't ever like that. Like, my grandpa wasn't ever hard with me. Like, if he ever looked at me funny, like, he just had to say something like, oh, I can't, but like, if he said something, I was like, I'm dead. I can't believe he thinks I'm terrible. And he was like, no, you just can't do that. And I'm like, oh God, okay. Like, you know what I'm saying? But like, I don't know. Okay, there was something else I wanted to talk about, if you wanted to talk about it, because now both of our parents are divorced. But like, my parents have pretty much been divorced my whole life, but yours was in adulthood.
Correct.
And I was obviously I was alive when they got divorced, but I was like 12, so I didn't really know like what all of that meant.
My parents or your
when your
parents?
parents got divorced.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, what? 9 months.
I was 12 when they got divorced, so I knew she was upset, but like I couldn't see her like I see her now, trying to process all of these things. And like I said, now that I'm older, sometimes we talk about it, because like for me, it's always just been me and my mom. You know what I'm saying? Like, there was the custody was that I had to go see my dad until I was 18. But we stopped doing that when I moved to Arizona, because I got serious about competitive sports, and I can't really do anything if I'm not in the state that I live in the summer. Anyways, but I don't know, I guess if you want to speak a little bit on that, because I don't really feel like my experience with having divorced parents is anything of sort, you know what I'm saying? Like, because they were never together, and my mom always, in my brain, because my mom always had primary custody, and I would go see my dad, but they were very separate entities in my brain. And now, as time has progressed and decisions have been made, and I've been able to see like who both of my parents are as people, they pretty much remain separate entities. And I think it's interesting because when I was younger, I feel like a lot of people who have divorced parents have this experience where they're like, one parent is like, they're stupid, or like, you know what I'm saying? And they're like, don't go over there. My parents never really trash talked each other, but they did not have any mutual assent. They only came together because of me. Like, if we had to go do something or whatever. So I always thought like, it's weird or whatever. And my family, and I'm sure you probably did this on purpose, but they didn't really ever say anything to try to influence me about my dad. But when I got older, obviously I was curious because our relationship was very estranged. But I think that I was disappointed to learn that the reason for my parents' divorce was similar to the reason for the lack of our relationship. Like, I wanted to not believe it, because I think every kid of divorced parents is like, oh, have a fairy tale time, everybody get back together, our parents are gonna be together, they're gonna be in love or whatever. And like, yeah, I had thought about it, but I was older when it happened, like when I had that realization, because I had heard the notion. Like, even when I would talk to different family members about it, because I was like, Mom just hates him, so I can't go talk to her about it because she doesn't like him. And then my other family members on my maternal side would be like, well, you know, he's your dad, like you got to figure it out. And it was always just a little apprehensive. So I guess I felt like, I don't know, I just felt like I've never felt like, first of all, I've never felt the absence of my father, if that makes sense. I feel like the Lord was very gracious in making sure that I always had superb male role models in my life, whether they were my grandfather or whether they were like deacons or pastors at the church that we went to, or like even coaches. When I started getting older, I never felt lack from having my father, but that didn't ever replace my desire to want to have a relationship with him. But I think my experience with my family as it relates to that also permitted me the same ability to come to know the idea of him as an adult and decide that I don't have to just have relationship with him because he's my father, if the kind of relationship he chooses is not the one that has been cultivated by my family. And I don't know, I mean, there's been a lot of argument about that, you know what I'm saying? But I just feel like my mom, I don't know, okay, I want to know what you think about it, because it's different for you because your parents were married for most of your life until they weren't.
I'm just going to say that our experiences will be totally different. Not specifically, I think a common thread could be divorce, but I also believe that the time in which that occurred versus what your life has been, those two things could not share any parallelism to me. I think
that's why I wanted you to talk about it.
I think for me specifically, if you're going to talk about me as a daughter, it's completely different versus me as a mother, and then me as a wife.
I just meant you as a daughter. Because
I mean, to be honest, it hasn't changed anything about my parents, because they're still my parents. The only thing that changes if you have some type of life altering event, whether that's death, divorce, infidelity, whatever it is, the only thing that changes is how you process that in your relationship to those people. So for me, being in my late 30s, then who they were was solidified in my mind. And who they are is still solidified in my mind. So that has not changed me, and it certainly didn't change how I reared you or parented you or even dealt with divorce when you were still, you were a baby then. So I don't think me hearing your experience is different because I'm your parent. So this is your take on your parents, and I'm that parent. So it's like it won't. Those two things for me wouldn't be similar.
I didn't want them to be similar.
No,
I
I'm
wanted
just
to say because we both experienced it as daughters. So I thought it might be interesting to hear. Something that I thought was interesting is that you said their position as parents was solidified in your life by the time they had got divorced. So it was like people say it was the same but different because, what else can you do at that point? They've always been your parents. They're just no longer going to be together now. I thought that was interesting because in my experience, who my mom was and my experience with her was solidified in my life. In my mind, I was still making up like how the two related and what I was going to do, specifically more so about my dad. So having that experience post adolescence and growing up for me was interesting because not only did I already know who you were and that you believed in me and that you were going to be for me, but like having that negative experience with my father, like did something further to solidify it because I was like, oh, that was weird. Like, you know what I'm saying? I just was like, because my experience with my mother was like, she's getting the chicken, guys. So my experience with my mother, like, and anyone who knows me and my mom would tell you this, like my mom, she's just my mom. There's nobody like her. She's always loved me. She's always supported me. And so I guess my experience with my father later in my life, not being positive and not being one centered around the kind of love that didn't demand anything else, to be loved, made me realize that the only option that had been presented my entire life was not the only option that existed, even within my own parental, like within my parental unit. You know what I'm saying? Which I thought was crazy. But yeah, that's all I have to say on that. Mama's still messing with the Cornish hen, so she's coming back. Anyways, any thoughts on that?
No.
Okay. I don't really have anything else. Do you have anything else?
No.
Okay. Okay, well, that was interesting. Oh, that was interesting. I feel like we talked about a lot of good things.
I don't know. It was very interesting for me.
I thought you knew that about I guess how could you know that?
Right.
But it's my own personal experience. Baby. But I know. I guess I just figured you could. What? Get your hand off me. I'm just saying. I figured you had picked that up, which is interesting.
Don't tell me to take my hand off you ever again.
Get it off. Oh my God!
What you have to understand is, parents, whether they are together or not, have to choose how to parent without allowing their own personal agenda to interfere with being a parent. And what happens is that it requires
Mommy is the goat at that.
it requires that parent and the other parent make a decision that what I want does not trump what is required to produce the next generation without any trauma or without any doubt, without any ill will. That is a choice to make. Yes. And a lot of people, whether they are older or younger, do not choose that life for their child. They choose the life that helps vindicate their experience with the other adult in the relationship. Yes. So for me specifically, hearing you discuss it, because you're the daughter, I'm the mother, you're the daughter. So these are your thoughts as how you've grown to process. All it does is say to me, even when I could have chosen something different, because I was experiencing hurt, disappointment, frustration at the time of being divorced, I had to say it has nothing to do with me. My life is separate from my daughter's life. Although I am her mother, I am raising her to create her own choices, to make her own choices, to live in the choices that she makes, to understand the consequences that she makes. And she has a right to choose how to have a relationship with someone who is already an adult. That's what I think a lot of parents do not understand about children. Our children are not adults. They're children. My child is 23. She is considered an adult, but to me, she is still my daughter. She is my child. So if she's calling me and asking me for something, am I not still her parent? So I think it's interesting for me as your mother to hear your perspective, because in my head, I had one assignment, and that was to do right by you. That's it. It didn't matter how I felt.
Clock it. Anyways, I don't have anything else to say. I thought we were going to make a lot of funnies, but we just drop a lot of truth bomb.
I mean, I think this is too heavy to be funny. I think anything
it's very about, but I think it's still important.
I mean, anything you're going to discuss when you're talking about how you were reared, if it wasn't your favorite choice, because on the other side of that, it's kids who get to do whatever they want, and then when they become adults, they have no boundaries.
See, I'm so glad my mom didn't do that, because first of all, I didn't know this until I got to college, but I don't really like people. And because my mom didn't let me do a lot of things, and my natural instinct was to go home and do whatever, I was like, thank God. She told me without telling me, I don't have to be anywhere I don't want to be. And I was like, oh, period. Oh, yes, because I don't want to do that. My mom, by binding me, I know you're not going to go be with this people, because she can see people clearly. Obviously, now that I'm an adult, it's you can see what people mean. You can't see that when you're a teenager. You just want to be a part of it. Now that I'm a teenager, or not a teenager, I'm not a teenager. I'm not a teenager. Now that I'm an adult, what the F?
Stop saying what the F on the. Don't edit that out. Say what the F, baby.
Anyways, I don't know what I was saying.
You're saying now that I'm an adult, you can appreciate knowing.
Yes, because
you're talking about
learning
how to stay home.
Yes,
take
because
care of yourself.
Just naturally having that space allowed me to take a step back and be like, there was a reason she kept saying no to those people. And it gave me the space to sit back and process that I might have made choices in haste to be associated with people that I didn't want to be associated to. And it's much harder to unassociate yourself with someone after you've you know what I'm saying? At least I won't say it's much harder for everyone. I will say for me, because I was much more I wanted everybody to like me, people pleaser when I was younger. So that space naturally for me was everything, because I was I don't have to do any of this. And at first I didn't like it because it changed how people perceived me, and I wanted to control that. But then after a while I was I don't care. I just do not care, you guys.
Andy Mineo said it best.
That's none of my business. Okay, we can't get copyrighted. I don't know if it would get copyrighted.
We didn't really sing it that good, but whatever. But I know what you're saying.
I think we sung it good.
I mean, it's all right.
Last thing I wanted to say was that what my mom did by being selective for me afforded me the opportunity to do it without even having to think about it. And then when I was able to realize it, I was like, this is golden, because now I can do whatever I want. I could just do whatever I want without having to mess up and then come back and try to do it again. It was great. It was really great. Anyways, it cut off. Now we're back for just a couple more minutes. But I just think that's interesting, because I like people make those TikTok where it's like, oh, I didn't know how good my mom raised me until I got around other people. Yes, that. But also like, I don't want to be around other people all the time. I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry. I'm really not sorry at all. And I don't understand why my mom is reacting like this, because this is exactly what she wanted. She wanted me to be selective, and that's how I am. Anything else?
Baby,
What?
why you say that?
The truth. Anyways, okay. One last thing. Why don't you say what is your favorite thing about me from, I don't know, just something nice. I was trying to think of something nice. Like, why don't you say, I don't know, say whatever you want.
I want a miniature mic.
That's really not what baby meant.
I want a miniature mic. Anyway, I was just also going to say, I don't think this, I know this. One of my favorite things about Jiana is how with grace she's transitioned to becoming a little bit more
I'm an adult, mommy.
Assertive.
Oh.
Really, kids?
Yeah, I have had a hard time with that.
She's transitioned in that area with a lot of grace, and I'm very proud of her. I'm sure she's told you guys that I've always been a little off the cuff. Okay. There are certain things I don't play about. She is one of those things. And I take it seriously when my presence will be known. Point blank, period. That's all I got to say.
Just please don't try it. I don't want my mom to have to repent for murder. Just please. I'm like she's calmer now because I'm bigger and I can take care of myself.
That's true.
But now that I'm bigger and I can take care of myself, it makes her more mad. So just don't.
That's probably true.
She doesn't like it. I'm trying to save you people. Just don't.
Anyway, but I am proud of who she is becoming. I think Jiana has always been herself, even when she was 6, 10, 16, 23 now. She's always been herself. I think she is exploring and learning different parts of who she is, which really makes me very thrilled for her, because she's able to stand in the confidence that she's had since she was a baby. And I am proud of who she is. And I'm proud that she doesn't have to seek outside validation, which can be very challenging, not just for young people, but also for older people. But I am thankful that Jiana has taken the time to step back from a lot of things and recognize, wait a minute, if I'm going to make a decision, it really affects me. And if this is not the type of consequence I want in my life, then I'm not going to do it. So I am proud of her in that area, because it does take a tremendous amount of self-awareness to be willing to examine why I have not been assertive in certain areas of my life, and then determine what's the root cause of that, and then make a change in it. So, I mean, she's lit.
Thanks, mommy. I have something I want to say, because certain things you can only understand as you get older. And like I told you about, like, I thought my mom was way too confrontational when I was younger, but once I got outside of a lot of people did, but once I got outside of that, I mean, familial wise, we were just like, it's okay. She was like, it's not okay. But once I got older, I realized that like there was a reason why she was doing that. She was setting an example, so it would be easier for me to follow when I got to the root of like why those things were being assertive. But what I wanted to say is that now that I'm older, I think that
It's okay.
I spend a lot of time thinking about my mom was like, everybody says she's just a girl. Like, she was just a girl before she had me. And now that I'm older and I've gotten to hear her life from her perspective, my mom gave me everything even when she didn't have it, And I think that I'm fine. She gave me everything. She gave me everything even when she didn't have it. And that includes confidence, that includes stability, that includes love, because my mom has had to experience a lot of things that were unjust and still be my mom and still put food on the table. And so I I always cry when I think about this because I couldn't have asked for a better example of godly love than my mom, because I didn't know that she was giving me stuff that she didn't have. And now that it's just so second nature for me, until I, got older and I could see that, like, she's just a girl and she still decided to do what she didn't know, like, if it would work or if it would be right. And she just did it all the time. And I can't do it.
Love you.
Okay, goodbye, Mini Mike.
Goodbye, Mini Mike. Bye. Get me a mic.